Meeting of the Cincinnati Board of Education. We welcome everyone and request everyone in the audience to please silence your cell phones and electronic devices. Please stand for the pledge. Where is it? Oh, there it is. In front of us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mrs. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates? Present. Ms. Bolton? Present. Mrs. Bowers? Present. Mr. Davis?
Present.
Mr. Messer?
Present.
Mr. Morosky?
Present.
President Jones?
Present. I need a motion to approve the minutes from the special meeting September 23rd, 2019, and the regular meeting September 23rd, 2019.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Minutes are approved. Ms. Bates, please present the September 19th, 2019 Finance Committee meeting report.
Yes, I chaired the fastest Finance Committee meeting on record, and I present the minutes as written for approval.
Thank you.
Or for acceptance, I'm sorry.
Okay, do board members have any questions or comments about the report? Okay.
Second.
Second, okay, yes, we need a voice vote. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Minutes are approved. Okay, Superintendent Mitchell, please introduce our first presentation.
Best and the brightest leader, and we got our hands on who was internal, Melissa Ridley. So we are so excited to have her lead this charge, starting with our youngest people on the west side. So Melissa, please join me at the podium.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having us here today. We are beyond excited. So I brought a few little people with me today to share some of what is happening at our amazing building. So if I can bring them up. Come on.
We can't see over the TV.
So what, here, Maxwell.
Amazing.
So we want to talk a little bit about the things that we're doing at Gamble Montessori Elementary. So Maxwell's going to start us off. He has something to read to you.
We are committed to focusing on personal well-being. We have created the Golden Rule Project, which asks all of us to treat others the way we wish to be treated. We recognize one another throughout the week with the Golden Ruler certificates. We hear about how we are all treating others the way we wish to be treated. Every Friday, sometimes we get a certificate.
So then we also are empowered by our communities. As an integral part of Montessori philosophy, it's developing communities. So most recently, we created a concentric circle community piece, and that's what we're going to share with you today as a thanks to you and appreciation for bringing us to the west side of Cincinnati to join the Montessori schools here on the west side. And then we also, our number one thing is to put children first. So this year, we're really excited to announce that Books Alive is coming to our school. We've been granted for 12 classrooms to participate in Books Alive throughout the school year, which is amazing. And then also the National Park Foundation has brought every kid in a park to our 4th and 5th graders. So they'll have that outdoor education piece happening as well. So we are the community's first choice. That's the really amazing thing over here on the west side of town, is that the communities are so dedicated to what we're doing. So we're trying to really publicize ourselves. We're on Facebook. We have a great website that's up and running. We have the University of Cincinnati tutors that are helping us in our building already. We had a meeting today with Mindpeace, so we're bringing on a mental health partner. And our Gamble Garden, thanks to the Gamble High School friends that was started, we're now getting it ready to lay to rest for the winter, and then hopefully our fruits of labor will be seen in the spring and summer. So we're excited about that.
All right. We get better. Our staff has shared a belief that through our collective actions, we will positively impact student outcomes for all children, regardless of disengagement or disadvantage. We work diligently to support the individual needs of all children. Thank you again for your support, and we look forward to sharing more great news with you soon.
So if it's okay, I'm going to have the kids come up and share their gift with you. Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you. What's your name? Amira. Thank you, Amira. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah. Cute. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, but we did. Sorry, I didn't catch before they went back to their seats. I wanted to ask board members if you have any questions or comments from the. Yes, Miss.
Hello. Hi. I want to first thank you for that presentation, but also to acknowledge the wonderful ribbon cutting that President Jones and I attended, and we came to Gamble Montessori Elementary for that. And I really want to ask you another question. Who designed those beautiful T-shirts?
Oh my gosh, aren't they amazing?
Yes.
So this summer, it was a collaborative effort between me and my staff that I brought on board, my Montessori teachers. We worked together with the person who's been designing for us over the years as we've been here in Cincinnati Public. And so the whole theory behind that is that it's a heart-shaped leaf. So we felt it was important that we stated how important kindness builds happiness, which builds community. And that's how we came up with that design. And so every year our hope is to create a different design to show what we're doing and how we're building community in our school.
Very good. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Messer.
Yes, very exciting, and you know, our superintendent and her team did backflips and handstands while juggling lots of plates to make that happen. And you're showing why that paid off, so thank you for that.
Absolutely.
And to the young man who did such a good job speaking, such an early age to have such confidence, I would like to know what your favorite thing that you've learned or worked on in class so far this year. And maybe you could tell us what grade you're in again, and what you've learned or what you like best so far this year.
I'm in 3rd grade, and I like how we learn about being kind.
Oh, good. Great. Yeah.
I think we're doing our job.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Mr. Morosky?
Well, I was actually going to ask the same thing, so I'll just open it up to any other student if you would like to share. Oh, you want to share? You don't want to share? Okay, I was sorry. Whoever would like to share, same question. What is something you've learned or your favorite thing about your new school?
That's right. Come on in.
She's like, get me out of here. Who is this guy? I don't even know this guy.
Here she comes.
I'm in second grade, and my favorite thing about learning is about how we share and how we're kind.
All right.
Anybody else? Don't be shy. Matt, okay.
All right, here we go.
Amira, come on down.
I'm in first grade, and I like learning math.
Oh, great, yeah.
I'm in third grade, and I like how people treat others the way they wish to be treated.
Wonderful.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate all your support.
Yeah.
Right, great.
This is what it's all about, and the hard work surely paid off, and just thank you, Gamble Montessori Elementary, for sharing with us today. Next honor is to introduce the principal of Gamble Montessori High School, Mr. Porter. Come on up.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I want to express my sincere gratitude. Superintendent Mitchell, thank you so much for trusting me with this opportunity. Treasurer Wagner, Mr. Morawski, Ms. Bowers, good to see you again. Mr. Messer, President Jones, Ms. Bates, Mr. Davis, and Ms. Bolton, good to see you again as well. Thank you all from the bottom of my heart for giving me a chance to work with this community and with some of these students who are about to join me in just a moment. I'd like to share gratitude for my staff, and then I want to introduce some of our very brightest students right after that. Can we cue this up?
We need it down here. Thank you.
Can we get on the screen in the front too?
CPS for our new school. We love it. It's beautiful. Thank you, thank you. Our families and students who love it too. Thank you.
Thanks, CPS, for our new home.
CPS for our new home. CPS for our new home.
CPS, thank you for our new home.
Mr. Scott Hardy here at Gamble Montessori, and thank you CPS for our new home.
Thank you, CPS, for our new home.
Okay, my name is Coach Roberto Allen. Thank you CPS for our new home. Chomp chomp.
We'll go back to the deck. And maybe Mr. Frank, if you don't mind coming up. We are just getting started here in our new home, and there's no way I could do any of this work alone. Mr. Frank is going to help me show some gratitude and share a remark. Right after that, we've got senior project presentations, and I'd like to have Mr. Frank take the mic.
First off, thank you all so much. It's been a long time we've been thinking about this, you know. It's kind of, one of the things I say is like, we feel like we're a grown-up high school now. You know, we started in the Dater basement, we went to a middle school, and now we're here, and there's a difference in our students. They continually feel more at home here, they feel more grown up here, they feel like, wow, we have state-of-the-art athletic facilities, we have a great auditorium, not that we didn't have a great auditorium at the old place, but this is great too, and when they walk up, when you see a full big high school that now, it's one of the prettiest buildings in CPS, it's really a point of pride, and we've worked hard with the neighborhood, and I'm just really grateful for everybody's work, superintendent, the assistant superintendents, the treasurers, everybody on the board, and thank you, thank you, thank you.
Next. Miss Allen, get it?
Hello, I'm Gabrielle Chancellor.
And I'm Hannah Branson.
We're seniors here at Gamble Montessori, and all of our seniors take part in doing a senior project. Our senior project includes writing a paper, taking a trip to the library every month to gather information, and then at the end of the year, at May 14th, we present, and we also do a Gators Give Back, which is a community service project. So for my topic, I chose what made African American women hate their natural hair. And my community service project was helping people of other races take care of their African American children's hair. And also, I have a panel discussion in February to talk about the topic as well. Oh, wow.
So my topic is based off of children's grief, more specifically how are children affected by the death of a parent. And I am partnering with Fernside, if any of you guys have ever heard of that. I'm doing art drives for them, getting them supplies, going and doing activities with the children. I chose this topic just because I know it's something that isn't really talked about. It's kind of brushed off as, you know, a child will kind of get over it. But it is something that does affect the child for the rest of their life. I know I've experienced that, and there are many children who have. So I just wanted to bring awareness through that with my project. That's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think most of us know by now, and if you haven't, it's on the marquee out front, we are very proud to graduate students. We've gone from a C to a B, and from 87% to 95% graduation rate on the state report card, thanks to some of the work you just heard about. Another program we're very, very proud of, we have FFA, led by Mrs. Dudley in our horticulture and agricultural program. And I've got a few guests I'd like to bring up at this time to talk about our FFA program.
Hello. I'm class president of the FFA of my class, which is Animal and Biotech. The FFA is here to teach students about the agriculture systems and what's harmful for their bodies. We teach them what goes into their food, and how once they learn what goes into their food, they'll be able to read the ingredients labels of the back of their food, which many Americans don't know how to do. We are going to be teaching that, but what we already learned this year is that leadership. That's one thing that we learned this year. We ran a student election, and me and fellow classmates ran for presidents and many other roles in the FFA. Also, we led a student-led meeting, which is FFA procedure, and also we went to City Hall and had an official meeting with state representatives. We talked about greenhouses and to grow plants for the community. So the ultimate goal of that was to bring the community together. We only did this in a short time of this new school year, and there's a whole school year ahead.
Hi, my name is Rashaya Martin, and one thing we did during intercession is we was outside and we was working together by cutting down honeysuckle and stuff and making the outside better and stuff, getting rid of the old stuff and putting in new flowers and stuff, planting new things, and getting ready to like start our gardens and stuff. And the candles that y'all have near y'all are what we made in our Montessori market, and they're made out of beeswax, coconut oil, and essential oils. and it's like groups of us, and we all work together, and we was putting them together, and we all work together to put the Montessori market together.
Hi, my name is Keontae Sauter, and I'm a freshman here. It's my first year here, and I really enjoyed the FFA and Gamble. I'm really here to talk about the FFA. It's a good community. It brings me together, because from my old school, pretty bad community. But when I first came here, it was pretty great. I have leadership, the maturity level went up. We went to go get like the little leaves and stuff, pick them up, the bad little branches outside our school to make it look nice for y'all in the community. But yeah.
Thank you. Before, can we ask them to come back up and see if board members have questions for them? Any questions or comments for the students? Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I thank you, and to the FFA men and women here at Gamble. I am a FFA member myself from Rising Sun, Indiana, being a farm kid, and you think agriculture is rural, and what you're talking about is frankly an incredibly important part of society today, diet and nutrition in our food chain. And there's an enormous amount of careers that are focused around that I'm sure that you're discussing as part of your work. But thank you for the leadership that you're showing, not just within FFA, but things that you're doing to help educate the rest of the schools. So congratulations.
Thank you. Ms. Bates?
Yes, I was, right after CPS purchased this building, we held a forum for community members to find out, to get their input as to what they wanted to see in this school. And there were so many of them that said, we want beautiful grounds maintained just as they were. So you must be a dream come true for the neighborhood because it looks beautiful. I was at Midway this morning and it was still dark out when I was coming home, and this is a little different, but this is an incredible building. The lights were on. I mean, you all are such an asset to this neighborhood. So, and I saw the signs out, Welcome Gamble, on the neighbors' lawns. So I think it's just great, the reception you have and what you all did to bring this school to where it is, like in the first 6 weeks. So thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton?
Yes, really appreciate your presentation. What you're doing is incredibly important, and it began 6 or 7 years ago when Bill Mallory Sr., a very important Cincinnatian, envisioned with another gentleman who was a state representative up in Columbus, Mr. Beakey. It's not spelled that way, but that's how it's pronounced. And they had a vision that in urban schools there would be FAA, there would be 4-H, there would be an agricultural piece at every one of our schools. And you guys are the vanguard. You're the beginning of that. And it is the talk, apparently. I just got off the phone yesterday for an hour with Mr. Beakey about this, and they are boasting about Gamble. They're boasting about what you all are doing, and it is a model, not just in this state, but it's going to be a model just regionally and nationally. And I've been told more money so that it can be expanded and so that we can give you the kinds of things that you need to be able to do. And I just appreciate what you're doing, and I want you to think in terms of those gentlemen, Mr. Mallory, who grew up in Cincinnati, and Mr. Beakey, who is a farm person up in central Ohio, together, working together to figure out what they could do. And this is a legacy for them. And you're great. This is super, and expand it, and we're here to help in whatever way. And agriculture, to Mr. Messer's point of view and background, agriculture is the #1 industry in this state. So you are well on your way to employment, and also college because of Ohio State Extension and also Central State Extension capacities. Because if you graduate from these programs, you have entree into those two schools. So keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you all. I want to just reiterate, we are very, very proud of our horticulture and agricultural program. Very proud of the fact that we graduate our kids. We also have a few more points of pride, and that is our Korean language program and the fact that we are one of 3 high schools in America to be accredited by the American Montessori Society. So we've got a lot of good spirit, a lot of good energy, and a lot of hard workers here in this building. That's all we have. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. And just on behalf of the board, Mr. Porter, thank you for your leadership here. I too have heard nothing but positive comments from people who live in the community, who talk about the beautiful surroundings, and they are so pleased that you all are here. So thank you for that. And also for the little gamble, okay? I was just totally impressed by the level of energy that I felt when I came to the ribbon cutting. When you all said it's time to cut the ribbon, you got bombarded with kids because they said this is ours. So I was very happy to see that in the energy that you all have. So thank you as well. Thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to move on with the agenda. Superintendent Mitchell?
Yes, thank you. So the administration has made a commitment to be able to provide an update at every single one of our board meetings about the strategic plan, so that when we get to June, you all won't say, well, tell me what's going on with the strategic plan. You will know all along the way. So 3 times a month, or however many meetings we have, we will bring to you the strategic plan. It gives me no greater pleasure than to introduce Sarah Trimble Oliver. She is our new Chief Strategy Officer, and she's going to talk about something that's critically important. So we have a plan, it's written, but now we're really focused on the execution, and more importantly, how will we monitor success to say that we are achieving the goals that the board has laid before us. So Sarah.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
It's always a tragedy to have to follow student presentations because they're the reason why we're here, and we're also very proud to see them. So I will try to make this not too boring following them. So as we are all aware, in August we passed a 3-year community design strategic plan with these 5 goals: student-centered decision-making, health and safety, community engagement, optimized capabilities, and growth. And these 18 strategies and 21 measures, which I won't read all to you. So we have been moving in the past 2 months from strategic planning into strategic execution as quickly as we can. According to Ernst & Young, a full 66% of corporate strategies are never executed. And the reasons for that is that organizations must overcome long-standing traditions, conflicting interests, poor communication channels, and other difficulties in the culture of the organization. So how do we make sure we are not part of that 66%? According to the research, organizations that are missing one or more of these 3 components are the ones that are not able to execute their strategy: alignment, mindset, and capability. So we have been mapping out the tools and the processes that we have in place into these 3 components. So for alignment, we have the mission matrix tool, which we all use to evaluate our current practices and whether they're high cost, low cost, high related to the mission, or low related to the mission, which makes us take a very close look at our current practices and what are we doing that we maybe should stop doing in order to fund the things that are part of the strategic plan. We also have a tool called you'll hear us call it the PGSM, which stands for Priorities, Goals, Strategies, and Measures. And this is a tool that every single department is using to align their work to the strategic plan. So they list what are their top goals, how those support the strategic plan, how their budget is aligned to that, and what are the strategies and the measures of success that they will achieve that year. And we also have the One Plan, which the schools use to align to the strategic plan as well. For mindset, we have a big effort for employee engagement, including the most recent Gallup poll that our employees have been taking. We have implemented skip level meetings as well as leadership collaboratives to really help build that burning platform, that urgency for where we want to go and what does every individual who works for CPS have to do in order to help us get there. For capabilities, we have our swim lanes, our process maps that every department is creating. We also have been growing a lot due to the professional development through the Leadership Pipeline Institute, helping make sure that our leaders have the capability for leadership. Our individual competencies, our new competencies for all CPS central office staff, as well as, of course, our QI tools, making sure everybody has the capability to lead improvement projects. So how will we know if we have these three components in place or if we still have gaps in these three components? We have two main system-wide monitoring tools that we'll be using. The first one is this master PGSM, where we have put all the department's strategies that they are working on for that year into one master document, and we can monitor the status of each of those, whether the strategy is on track as planned, whether it's at risk and needs additional planning to make sure it achieves its target, or whether it's significantly off track. The second tool is the strategic measure scorecard. And I should say we are monitoring and updating this master PGSM monthly, and we're monitoring and updating this strategic plan scorecard quarterly. So you'll see 4 quarters across, and these are the measures that are directly listed in our strategic plan, and we'll be evaluating whether those are on track, slightly off track, or significantly off track on a quarterly basis. And actually, October, a little bit later this month, will be the end of the first quarter, and so we'll have our first actual scorecard at that time. We are also already looking forward to year 2 of the strategic plan. So we are making sure that we have processes in place to ensure strategic alignment for 2020-21, beginning with the board retreat, and then we will be holding departmental-wide strategic retreats based on that, and we will have a standard agenda and a standard template and a standard outcome that will be expected, and that is where departments will align their next year's work, year 2 work, to the year 2 of the strategic plan. They will be building their initial budgets based on that alignment, as well as their next year's PGSM. Once budgets are finalized, then they will begin planning, building their action plans and individual SMART goals. And Ms. Mitchell has also formed an organizational alignment team to make sure that we have all those 3 components in place and that we don't have any glaring gaps, and to make sure everyone is rowing in the same direction. And these are some of the activities that team has underway, including the building of the standard departmental retreat agendas and professional development for the individuals that will be leading that. We are also working on regular and frequent strategic plan communications and celebrations. So in summary, we are full speed ahead trying to bridge that gap between strategic planning and strategic execution, and we have a regular monitoring and reporting cadence to be able to frequently report to our communities the status of the strategic plan.
Thank you. Do board members have questions and comments? Ms. Bowers?
Thank you, Sarah. How will the scorecard be shared with the board? The outcome, or for the first quarter?
Sure. So I believe we will have board presentations planned, as well as Ms. Worley's department has a centralized page on our website where all of the strategic plan presentations presented here are all posted in one place, and so we can post the scorecard there as well.
Mr. Messer?
Yeah, I love seeing these. I mean, I've said it before, but I think if the average taxpayer who has to make a decision about a levy and they're going to be walking in to make that decision, to see the level of detail and professionalism that goes into running this place like a business that's in the business of educating children, preparing them for life. So I love all of this, and I think, you know, the more we can make that available, to Ms. Bauer's point, great. I think the request is, you know, as we look to kind of a high-level scorecard, I do think there are some metrics by initiative or major project, i.e. transportation, that just allows us, so yeah, we might be on track for looking at our different various processes, but, you know, I'd love to be able to say, oh, you want to see our transportation metrics? Boom. 36,000 people picked up. 0.00001 missed. You know, so it's because I think what we hear so often is, of course, the one, and then it get magnified and like, oh, this is wrong, when, you know, when you look at it in context, not that one isn't too many, but it gives people context. And I think, you know, as we get into some of those core processes, that we can kind of have some metrics so that if we have a question, we can be like, I looked at, yes, I hear you. It's obviously not a raging problem in the district. We'll connect you with so-and-so. And I think that the perspective that can give, having kind of those core metrics by, you know, whatever we call those leading processes or strategic processes, whatever.
Yes.
But thank you for all your work. I think this is really fantastic.
Any other questions? Ms. Bolton?
Yeah, I appreciate the report, and I'm thrilled that you are the person that's got that responsibility to do the monitoring and continue to see where we're going. Two things I'd encourage, because I think one of the things that separates this community-designed strategic plan is that indeed it was, for all intents and purposes, community-designed. And the last thing we want to do is look so inward and just in our own circle evaluate what's going on. So I think it'd probably be good to work up some times to check in with the public in some sort of listening sessions or a dialogue. It doesn't have to be the same step committee, but maybe they're invited for sure. But I just think it somehow, that way it doesn't, having spent 36 years in education, sometimes we begin to talk in letters and we get too crazy about that. The other thing too is that just periodically, and I think it's great that you mentioned the board work session or retreat, the presentations give us an opportunity to have the information and ask some questions, but periodically, if the superintendent, I'm sure does this anyway, works up some times for actual dialogue with the board. Based upon what we hear in the community. I think that just keeps the spirit of the strategic plan alive. And like I said, we've gotten so many good comments about that, and people are so thrilled about the new buildings and the fact that overnight we were able to fill the Gamble Elementary, Montessori Elementary. I mean, it just, there's such energy, and we want to be able to keep tapping that by involving the public.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Ms. Trimble Oliver. We look forward to hearing all the good news at the next meeting. Thank you. All righty. Does anyone have any kudos? Mr. Murawski, welcome back.
Thank you so much. I have so many kudos.
I know you did.
Just from the past few days, I'm doing, and I'm going to do it.
Don't do it.
All right, I'll let you do it. And I got to come with another kudo then. So sitting here in Gamble Montessori High School, I was here on Monday, and I was playing guitar in the choir class. I want to give a kudos to Mr. Frank and the students in the choir class who did an awesome job and reminded me that I'm not cool anymore. When they were asking me if I listened to X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about. Do you like the Wu-Tang Clan? And they laughed at me. Anyway, it was really neat to see, and they're really excited about their choir concert on October 15th. And I know that they're making the best out of the space they have until Mr. Frank gets his bigger room. And so kudos not only to Mr. Frank, but to Mr. Porter and everybody here. It's been so great. And I've been so happy to hear all of the good news from the community and from the building. So thanks for having us today.
Thank you. Any other kudos?
I have one.
Ms. Ballard.
From this morning, I thank President Jones, and thank you, Mr. Morowski, for letting me do this kudo. We were at Gamble Montessori, I'm sorry. I'm partial to Gamble, but we were at Clark this morning for their, I want to say, Community Expo, am I saying that right? Experience with the 11th graders, and it was fabulous. I learned so much from advocacy about support for water and the water system in Flint, from understanding the Justice, JPEC.
IJPC.
Thank you, IJPC, Intercommunity Interfaith Justice and Peace Committee, something. Anyway, it was about advocacy for against the death penalty. The students presented so well. I was so impressed. Also learned a lot about OTR Festival. And I was not aware that Over the Rhine Festival supported charitable organizations and supported those people with learning and developmental disabilities by employment, housing, and teaching them life skills. So I'm going to be a better participant with that from now on because I didn't know it was giving back. So I learned a lot this morning, and I was so grateful to be there and invited to come.
Mr. Messer.
Yeah, and I know that this happened throughout the district, but kudos as I was on drop-off duty this morning at school and to see our principal, Mr. Lewis, at North Avondale with his signs and a plethora of others around him, really making a good demonstration to what is not also a very good place for people to cross. Monday mornings I go to cello at 7:30, and I've almost been hit 2 or 3 times since starting that, and that's only been since this year that we go at 7:30 on Mondays. So it's it was very nice to see not just a demonstration, but being led by our principal and then lots of community and staff members along with him. And this one's not a kudo, but I didn't know where else to put it. I just want to kind of use this opportunity to remember Sister Monica McGloin, who has been to many of our meetings. I called her my shaman when I was community council president Over the Rhine. She just helped give me advice and feedback and connect me to people. And she passed this morning at 5:03 a.m. And just an incredible woman. So a kudo to her for all she did, specifically in education and social justice for our city and beyond. So Sister Monica McGloin.
Thank you. Ms. Bates.
Yeah, and I want to add to Mr. Messer's kudo about the schools that were out this morning with their signs that were promoting safe driving around schools or pedestrian safety in the city, because there are many of them. I was at Midway, Ms. Bolton was here at Gamble High School, and I don't know, Aiken. You were at Aiken, yes, Ms. Jones. So we were all over the city promoting pedestrian safety. It was so awesome, and we would have gotten more press and media except for that barge accident on the Ohio River, kind of took over all the headlines. But we got a little bit, and internally it's creating awareness and creating a sense of activism. So I want to give kudos for all the support for the Walk to School Day, and we'll continue on.
Thank you. Ms. Bolton.
Yes, the same issue, same topic. I want to give kudos to the Youth Advisory Safety Committee, which is comprised for the most part of 5th, 6th, and 7th graders who meet on Saturday mornings, and I've had the pleasure to be there for both of those. Mr. Morowski's been there at the very first one, and it was a regular. And it's one of those areas where we actually have cooperation between City Council and the school board, the district and the city, and more particularly, it's also an area where I guess the young people are leading us, and they were among the first to tell us about this particular day being a walk to school. And they come from a number of our schools. Most of them originated on the west side. A few of them have now gone to 7th grade at Walnut, but Dater's represented, Gamble's represented, Covedale's represented, just to name a few, and West High. I'm very impressed with them, and I think they've helped start this. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other kudos before we move on? Okay. We have no retirements to report today, so moving on. We are now at the item on the agenda for hearing the public. Each speaker has 3 minutes to speak, and Mrs. Wagner will be our timekeeper when the buzzer goes off. Your 3 minutes are up. Please refrain from discussing any personnel items. When your name is called, please come to the podium to speak. We have 3, so I'll just call all 3. Marlena Brookfield, Angela Farwick, Jenna Schaefer.
Okay, I hope I didn't turn it off. Good. So I hadn't planned on speaking tonight, but I got some information within the past few hours that I find deeply concerning. I serve on the LSDMC at Dater High School as a parent representative, or at least I did. Because unbeknownst to me, 15 schools were chosen to do a complete refresh, and even though this should be the start of my second and final term, I was told this afternoon that Dater was one of these 15, and there will now be an entire new roster elected. I just want to know who decided that. I remember that last year's refresh was a process over a few months, many opportunities for the public to come and be heard, many opportunities to look at suggested changes, and this time, why am I just now hearing that a refresh was done? Where was all the public engagement? When were the schools decided? What was the criteria for the 15? And what is this seeming disregard for, conducting the public's business in the public? How does that reflect on the people whom the public put their trust in?
Thank you. Ms. Farwick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. My name is Angela Farwig. I'm the parent of a first grader at Hyde Park School, and I'm also one of the parent representatives on the instructional leadership team at that school. I believe that you have already seen the letter that went to the Student Achievement Committee that a few of us sent in, and that a few parents have already appeared before you to talk about the significant space and facilities issues at Hyde Park School, so I'm not going to cover the whole universe there. I just wanted to highlight a few key items and draw attention to how an addition at Hyde Park School would align with the district's new strategic plan. Our school is a destination school for the district. Enrollment is growing every year from 130 students when it opened in 2012 to over 550 enrolled today. Simply put, we are out of space today, right now. Currently, an entire grade level attends Hyde Park School, not at the school, but at least space across Edwards Road. So thinking about health and safety, with the adoption of Vision Zero, we know that this board is committed to ensuring our kids are safe as they walk to and from school. We currently have 75 second graders that cross Edwards Road twice a day, once after they have already arrived at the school, and then once again when they go back to school for lunch and to end the day. While we are employing lots of great strategies to make sure our kids are safe, crossing the street twice a day is a risk that we really just shouldn't have to take. Student-centered decision-making. Hyde Park School is a school that puts students first. We have a Vision 2020 program this year, personalized education, and that really reflects the commitment to putting students first, but the lack of space for teachers to be able to actually implement that effectively and for all children to experience it is a challenge. We don't have small group learning spaces. Everything is taken up by sort of the necessities of being a school, and so we use the hallways when we can. And those challenges are only going to get worse as enrollment grows. Community engagement. Hyde Park School has fantastic leadership and teachers and a very engaged parent community, as you might be getting a sense of. Where we are going is we're really looking to become a true hub for the community as well. We have an outdoor playground that is just beautiful if you have a chance to come by. It's really a community gathering area for the whole neighborhood and an asset for the neighborhood. We have an annual pumpkin chuck for the whole community, and it's quite the event. We have a hashtag #Smash. However, the lack of indoor space significantly limits our ability to become this hub when we can't utilize outdoor space. Okay, I have to run through this real quickly. Finally, because we want to engage our community, we've been engaging with the Oakley Community Council and the Hyde Park Neighborhood Council to ensure that they're committed to Hyde Park School and supporting its growth, and they have indicated that they are. The Oakley Community Council passed a resolution in support, and we've also begun those conversations with Hyde Park Neighborhood Council. Finally, growth. Expanding Hyde Park School aligns with the strategic plan of growth through renovation of existing properties. So we are just thrilled that the board is beginning to take a comprehensive look at enrollment and capacity and overall growth strategy across the district. And we at Hyde Park School are asking that you take our voice into account as you undertake that work, and let us know how we can partner with you to ensure that Hyde Park School can contribute to CPS becoming a district of destination. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Schaefer.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
My name is Jenna Schaefer, and I'm a parent at Hyde Park School and have a child who's in first grade. We moved here about 3 years ago from the Bronx in New York City to Cincinnati and chose Oakley as our home. And when we first came here, my son, who was in preschool at the time, we signed him up for New School Montessori in North Avondale. And while we loved the school there, it was quite small, and we felt like we weren't getting to know our community and our neighbors on our street. So when it came time for him to go to elementary school, we decided, let's go to our neighborhood school, which is Hyde Park School. I had concerns. I said, is my son going to get that individual attention? Is he going to get the experience of being, looking at him as a whole child, not just of what he needs to do for math? And since that time, a year has passed, and I've seen him grow as a child, and I've seen how these teachers really care about him. I've seen him learn to read unbelievably, and I can't take the credit for all of that. Even though we read to him each night, I know the teachers are working really hard with him. But I also know that when I'm in the classroom and I'm volunteering, that when he was in elementary school, I get the smell of sewer gas because it's an older building and smells come through the pipes. This is the floor where there are several kindergarten classes. I know that my husband volunteers as a basketball coach for just some practices in the gym. It's not a full court, so we can't hold games there and play against other schools. So I'm really hoping that for the future of our school that we'll find ways to help it continue to grow and accommodate the whole community, because as Angela said before, it really is a hub between Oakley and Hyde Park. And I know now that I've met so many people wherever we go, and being an outsider, I guess, to Cincinnati, it's really hard to become an insider. And now we walk into Kroger's or Hyde Park and we see everyone in this community. So we're asking CPS to help upgrade the facilities so that we can keep being successful and a happy Hyde Park. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay. So we're going to move on to our Board Matters topic for this evening, and my opinion is it'll be short and sweet. At least that's the hope.
So moved.
Okay. Okay. So the CPP-CPS Joint Collaborative Meeting is confirmed for October 10th, 6 o'clock at Interact for Health, and they do have the capability of live streaming. So that's the time. I've been in communication with Father Graham about the agenda, which he agreed to reach out to me tomorrow about sometime around 10 o'clock so we can kind of finalize the agenda. So I was hoping tonight that the board could actually begin to identify maybe some particular agenda items of interest. And what we will do, what Father Graham and I will do, is then begin to prioritize them. And I think the board should keep in mind that we had agreed that these are high-level discussions. If there are topics that we want to discuss that may not get on the agenda, we always have opportunity to do it by assigning tasks and working through them in subcommittees and what have you. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. Let me tell you two things that Father Graham is proposing, and I'll throw that out and you can respond. One is they would like to give a report on the work that Mr. Messer and Cheryl Rose did. You're familiar with that?
I am.
Okay, and so that's pretty much a given that will happen. The second agenda item, which I expressed to Father Green that I wasn't quite sure where the board stood with this, is to begin to have high level, whatever that is, discussion around issue 44 for next year. Now, I'll reserve personal comment on that, but I think that, we need to decide as a board. I mean, we have a levy on the ballot this year, and, we got to get past that. So, but anyway, I'll open it up for discussion to see what board members think about that particular agenda item or where we want to go, and then any other agenda item that you might have. Wow, hands went up, and I'm just going to start on the end. Mr. Morosky.
Thanks, President Jones. Mine should be quick, and this might have happened when I was gone, so again, I apologize. An update on the conversation we had with Ms. Westheimer about allowing some of the dollars to be used for families that were having to cut the checks to fill in the gap. I think we had talked that night that we were okay with that, but I don't know if they started it, so I'd like an update on that.
Okay, you're going to have to tell me that again. I didn't.
So you'll recall there were some students where the families were having to write checks to fill the gap in the tuition because they weren't getting the full subsidy. And Ms. Westheimer had talked about how that was sort of preventing some families from getting the preschool. And it seemed our discussion here was we were all fairly amenable to it. I know it was alluded to, and this is my second piece, that would be great. Could we have a renewed conversation about the 300% line and maybe bring that back down, which would then, I would imagine, enable some of those dollars to be used for these families that are actually struggling. So an update A on that Sally Westheimer's presentation and that sort of gap closing, for lack of a much better term, with the CPP dollars. 2, the 300% conversation I would like to reopen and talk about again. And then 3, since you asked, I don't think we're at an appropriate time to start talking about issue 44. I wouldn't feel comfortable talking about that right now.
Okay.
There's a few more things I think I need to see on paper before, but it's not right now.
Okay. Ms. Bowers.
Is it possible for us to get enrollment data for our preschools, combination of community and CPS, in addition to any progress that any of our 2-star have made toward a 3-star rating? And I'm thinking about the community preschools.
So you're looking for progress toward the community providers and the quality improvement piece? Okay. Mr. Messer?
I'll just second Mike's. I think then I have update on 2019 enrollment. And I think it's just what's the current milestone, and then how are we sharing that broadly? Because I think I keep hearing, what are the numbers? Right. And I think, where we were is good. It's even better now. So making sure that we've got kind of the state of the union there. Right. And then, I think it'd be great to have kind of a full introduction of the new executive director and the transition plan. And
I think they were planning that, yeah.
Good.
Thank you. Ms. Bates, did you have?
Yes, I would suggest that we have a presentation on the kindergarten readiness assessment and how our children in the preschools, in both the community preschools and the CPS preschools, are progressing in readiness. We should have some data by now, And also comparisons between, I don't know if we would for the 3 to 4-year-olds, going into kindergarten yet, but certainly we have it from last year for the 4-year-olds going into kindergarten. Do we not? We have some data.
Yes.
So,
Yes. Are you asking a question?
Yeah.
You're looking at Ms. Brooks.
yeah, looking at Ms. Brooks. So whatever data we have, do we get the data from the community preschools as well as our own preschools? But if we can have a presentation on that to see how they're all progressing, and by star too, to see if really, and I know it's preliminary, and there's going to be a really small, cohort, but just to kind of give us a sense.
Okay. And we'll bring some more clarity to that, Ms. Brooks. Oh. Okay.
Yeah. So if we don't have it, then we could make the request at that meeting from our board to their board. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Davis, do you have anything?
Yes. I'm continually frustrated with the lack of information that the Cincinnati Public School Board gets. It's still a gap in the communication. I don't know where the gap is, because a lot of the questions that are asked by the Cincinnati Public School Board, I already have seen information. Like I saw the RACI that Ryan and Cheryl did. I don't know why everybody else hasn't seen that. I've seen a CRAW report from last year. I don't know why everybody else hasn't seen that. I keep crying about it, but I don't know that I'm expressing it correctly. Like from Cincinnati Promise Forward, I'm getting all this information well before the Cincinnati Public School Board is, and I want that to stop. I don't know how to stop it, but I want that to stop. Cincinnati Public School Board is an integral party. So is Cincinnati Promise Forward, but not as integral as Cincinnati Public School Board. And I'm getting information as a Cincinnati Promise Forward board member that the Cincinnati Public School Board is getting later. You understand what I'm saying?
If at all.
If at all, right.
Well, we're going to get it, because the one great thing is these joint meetings are forcing the information. So you're going to get it. I just want us to have it before Cincinnati Promise Forward has it. It's kind of like putting one hat above the other, but that's just how I feel. The Cincinnati Public School Board should have information before Cincinnati Promise Forward, or at the same time. The one thing I'd like to see on the agenda is a conversation around teacher pipeline and how teacher pipeline, the teacher pipeline committee is separate from the workforce development committee, and where's the accountability around teacher pipeline, and what's the plan to encourage teacher pipeline from a preschool promise perspective.
Okay. So, Ms. Bolton?
I would just second, first of all, unfortunately, I will not be at that meeting, but I would second what Mr. Morosky has said about this is not the time to discuss the levy renewal. And I do think we still have to come to grips with we were in one place and the CPP board is in another place regarding 300%. And that is a point of confusion in the community for sure. I do think it would be helpful not only to see, as Mr. Messer has said, the number of seats we had when this thing started, then what we had in the first year, and what we have now, both CPS and the private, community providers, I think I should say. I think, too, it would be good to see the increase in the ratings by provider. And I think that's been mentioned, but you really need to see it as disaggregated, if you will, to see that. And then finally, have we eliminated the established and agreed to preschool deserts? Because those are going to be the three questions people are going to be asking, besides whether or not the kids are ready for kindergarten. They're going to wonder if we have more quality seats, we have more quality providers, we've eliminated the deserts, and I mean, those are the things we have to come to grips with in our presentation. Being very much aware that the state is going to be cutting back on their support if there are not the quality provider stars attributed. And we are facing a major problem when that happens.
Okay. Thank you. I think there's consensus on one thing, because I also agree with this, of us not having a discussion about the levy at this point. I think it's premature. So anyway, so what the board has given me is 12 agenda items. And I really think that it's a long shot for us to do that. And so if it's the board's pleasure, I'd at least like an opportunity to talk with Father Graham and see how we might address each one of these concerns without putting 12 items on the agenda, if that's okay. And
please.
Yes.
Can we have some of these as written reports?
Well,
and not discussed reports?
Yes, I think that, and that's exactly what I will propose, is that maybe if we can get some of these as written reports, I think that would be helpful. I think, Mr. Davis, your point, the gaps in communication, we probably need to have an internal discussion about how those reports come to us. And maybe we can do that internally, so that may not be necessary for a full discussion, because it sounds like the information is there, we're just somehow missing it. Okay, so I'll work on this with Father Graham, and hopefully we can get a draft agenda out very soon, in a matter of days, and then be ready for the meeting next week. Okay, does that sound doable to people? Okay. All righty. Okay, this is moving on. Anything else about board matters concern? Okay, Ms. Bates, please present the following resolution for board consideration.
Yes, I have a resolution authorizing the redemption of $1,140,000 of certificates of participation, School Energy Conservation Improvement Project, federally taxable qualified school construction bond of the Cincinnati City School District, County of Hamilton, State of Ohio, authorizing the payment of the redemption price and related costs, authorizing documents necessary to effectuate such redemption. I present this resolution as printed for adoption.
Is there a second? Second. Any discussion or comment? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton? Aye. Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Messer, please present the following resolution.
Yes, I present a resolution directing the treasurer to resolve issues related to the issuance of securities of the Cincinnati City School District. I present the resolution as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
I'm sorry, Ms. Who seconded?
Who's second?
I did.
Yes. I did hear you.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton?
Aye.
Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, Superintendent Mitchell, do you have a report?
I do. So I would like to be able to highlight some of the great work that our youngsters are involved in. So Schroeder High School, 175 juniors and seniors were able to cast a vote in a mock election with Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose, which was quite interesting and very exciting for our young people. So I wanted to highlight that. In addition to, this is a picture of the ribbon cutting for the new Gamble Montessori Elementary School, and you can see that the kids were really very excited about their new school. It's a beautiful building. They've done a really good job of taking care of it so far. In addition, we want to be able to highlight, look at the picture. Oh, this is our very first ever health fair. for students. And so we had 2,000 of our high school sophomores learn about fitness and wellness and career-related fields, and this was hosted at Cincinnati State, and we had over 40 vendors there in attendance to be able to work with our young people around health and fitness.
That's super cool.
And then last but not least, we would like to be able to highlight that Cincinnati Public Schools will host its first International Jazz Festival. It will be on this coming Saturday night, and it will begin at 7:30 p.m. at the Aronoff. And so Dr. Rutnick has been able to get international jazz musicians to come and work with our young people in a workshop style, and then we'll be playing with them that evening on this coming Saturday, October the 5th at 7:30, and the place is the Aronoff Theater. Thank you. That is my report, in addition to the written report, sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve the revised recommendations of the superintendent?
So moved.
3 moves, okay.
I'll second
Is there a
it.
second? Mr. Messer? Okay, any discussion?
Real quick.
Yes, Mr. Mulaski.
This should have been a kudo, and it wasn't, but I just think everybody needs to hear how well received our students were at that health fair. Doing what I do in the healthcare world day to day, nearly everybody I work with in some capacity was involved. Whether it was Cincinnati Health Department, I had lunch with the dean of the health college at Cincinnati State yesterday, and 100% of the comments, unsolicited and solicited, were how engaged our students were. My colleagues at Cradle Cincinnati talked about reproductive health. Cincinnati Health Department was talking about some issues that, having worked with teenagers, I know can oftentimes go off the rails. Everybody, the kids were so great, and for an event that had so many opportunities to go wrong, logistics and getting every kid to Cincinnati State and back, I just think it's a massive kudo to all the sophomores and the teachers and the principals that helped support it and made sure it went well, and certainly to Dr. Jennifer Williams, who pulled everything together. So I just wanted to say, I think everyone needs to know that I can't go anywhere in the health community without people talking about that fair or our students.
Very good. Madam Chair.
Yes.
The secret sauce to that was Miss Phyllis Davis.
Absolutely. I was just going to say
Exercise routine.
Yes.
Yep.
She's still recuperating, but she will tell you.
Yep.
Yes, Mr. Davis.
She's a secret sauce to a lot of stuff.
Getting us through all of this.
Right. I'm excited about the health fair, and I wanted to ask the superintendent about the prospects of bringing back the Cincinnati Academy of Physical Education.
So the administration, we have actually scheduled an entire day session to talk about growth as it relates to the district in response to the strategic plan, transportation, boundaries after the board retreat. And so it's definitely something that we can take into consideration.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton? Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Aye. Motion carries. Do I have a motion to approve the revised report of the treasurer?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Ms. Wagner, please call the roll.
Mrs. Bates?
Aye.
Ms. Bolton? Aye. Mrs. Bowers?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mr. Messer?
Aye.
Mr. Morosky?
Yes.
President Jones?
Aye. Thank you. Motion carries. Are there any inquiries and updates? Mr. Messer.
I'll just give a quick one. I don't know if anybody else was there because it was quite a large room, but I attended the kickoff for the complete census count yesterday.
Where were you?
What?
She was there too.
Oh, yeah, we were all there.
Not
But
more than 3.
free.
Yeah, so, but I think the purpose is that we're just, anybody who hears this, make sure you tell everybody you know, tell your cousins, church, everybody, because it really makes a difference to tens of millions of dollars to this region for things that would support the families that we serve. So more to come there, but sounds like we were well represented, but just doing my civic duty, as they said, to share it next time we were at a place to do so.
Thank you. Any other inquiry and update? Ms. Bolton?
I have an inquiry regarding, do we have a date yet for the negotiations with the city regarding abatement? And so that the public would know that date. And then also a follow-up, considering the most recent hearings and testimony at City Council, I think even today, the issue of I think it was an assignment previously regarding the health and safety concerns of moving Hilltop cement and what have you to Lower Price Hill, and what kind of impact that would have on our schools that are located so close.
Well, that was voted down today.
I understand it was voted down, but that won't necessarily stop it.
Okay. So you're asking for an update on
those
Mr.
two
Foynes?
things.
Yes.
So President Jones?
Yes.
General Counsel and I are having a meeting on Friday down at, with the city's team.
For the tax abatement?
For the tax abatement, yes, I'm sorry.
Okay. Can I just briefly give an update? I just, by chance, ran into Mayor Cranley at the African American Chamber ribbon cutting. And we kind of chatted in a corner, and I've already shared this with the treasurer, that basically his request was, well, what figure, what number will make you all whole? And from what I understand, it was 33%. And so I think that's according to our treasurer, and I don't know, maybe that's what you're going to report to us.
I think that sounds right, yeah.
Okay.
We have a meeting on Friday, and that's very consistent with what I think we've proposed.
All right.
And then on the health and safety memo, we'll get a draft to you this week. I know Mr. Messer was very interested in that, so we'll make sure he has a chance to look at it as well and get that in your board
Well,
packets.
the whole board needs to see it.
Of course, yeah.
Assignment
Yep.
Right.
to the
Absolutely.
administration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else then on that? Great. Any other inquiries and updates? All right, assignments? Yes, Ms. Bolton?
Yes, I have an
Oh,
assignment.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have an assignment, if I could, for the administration to figure out who might be helping us as we begin this Safe Routes to School plan development, and just an administrative liaison person or what have you. The other piece, I'm interested in where we are and how much knowledge we can have regarding whether or not, give us enough knowledge to be able to make a decision at the end of this calendar year regarding the crossing guards. We need to know that kind of dollars, that kind of union association, or what have you. Thank you.
President Jones, if I could provide just a little bit of an update, because we've actually been working on this. Sarah is leading this work, and so she did brief me on it today. So our intent is to be able to bring to you a recommendation by November the 4th regarding the crossing guards. So what we're doing is we're looking at what logistically it might take for us to bring it in-house and how much that costs. We're also looking at what it might cost to have a third party take it over, and then also to look at it from the city's perspective in terms of if they maintain it. And so Sarah Trimble Oliver has actually been working on that, and we'll be able to bring to you our thoughts about it for the November 4th. We wanted to bring it to you in plenty of time before the agreement ends with the crossing guards.
That will be very helpful. I appreciate it, and I think all options are on the table, and including the fact that I think we will be finding, as we have, that we may need more crossing guards or even somewhat longer shifts. That's what I'm hearing, at least in the community. but if that could kind of figure into some of it, that might be helpful.
Thank you. Any other, Mr. Murowski?
I had an assignment for facilities or administration, wherever you think it fits best. We've heard compelling testimony from Hyde Park School and Student Achievement and tonight and other nights, and we've also heard compelling testimony from Spencer Center's LSDMC near the end of last school year. And I was just curious if we could get an update from facilities on where any plans might fall, and there might not be anything moving, but just like a formal update. It could be, I think it would probably be good for the full board, but it could happen in student achievement too, I suppose.
Yeah, so we would be happy to bring that to you. Actually, the administration, we've been working on it probably since school opened, and I've had more than one conversation with Robin Brandon. She actually attended the performance leadership team yesterday, and so we do have figures for you, and we thought it might be important for us to put it in context of a whole plan after the October 19th retreat to get a little bit more direction from you. And then we have a whole day schedule to consider all of these things. So the schools who need additional space, the growth of new buildings, transportation, boundaries, all of that.
Those are all my trigger words. I love it. Yeah,
great.
That's real nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Ms. Bates.
My assignment was along those lines because we're hearing from PRM, Hyde Park, Spencer, but we're not hearing from the northern districts, and we know there's issues there. So whatever is decided, or the data that we receive, I want to see it from a perspective of equity, you know, like kind of a rank order in order of capacity, not numbers, but more of a ratio of students to capacity, so that we're truly addressing the needs equitably and not just because, you know, we're hearing, and it's important to hear from people, but I don't think we're hearing from everybody that have needs.
And just to kind of cap the conversation off, I think we did talk about this at a board meeting about using our retreat time to talk about some of these broader concerns. So just so people know that that's what Ryan and I are meeting tomorrow over breakfast. Okay.
Late breakfast.
Late breakfast, okay. All right. We ain't telling, it's a secret.
Yeah, I want to avoid that.
Yeah, you love that one.
Okay, all right, any other assignments? Any other assignments? Okay, all right, having no other business before us, I declare the meeting adjourned. Thank you so much, Gamble.
Yeah. And as Olivia would say.
Yeah.